It is now time to discuss another important thematic area, skill development. With our brick and mortar skilling infrastructure no longer being used, the e-space has opened many doors for skill development. The call to the digital revolution has been a long time coming, with the pandemic acting as an accelerant and a catalyst to urge the skilling ecosystem to shift online. While many had adapted to our 21st century digital reality sooner than others, many are still contemplating the way forward with a hybrid model of learning involving both this and physical interaction. With the skill development sector often requiring hands-on experience, it remains to see how these traits will leverage the opportunity of digital learning. So join us as we engage in the conversation on the role of digital in making youth job ready through the digital skills continuum. To moderate this session, I would like to invite Mr. Venkatesh Sarvasiddhi, Senior Head Digital Skills, Innovation, Partnerships and CSR at the NSDC. Mr. Venkatesh works with the National Skills Development Corporation, heading the digital skills innovation, industry partnerships, and CSR engagements in building the policy and framework for the skilling motion in India. He also heads the eSkill India under the Digital India initiatives to empower youth, leads the innovation practice in engaging with startup ecosystem, partnering with industry to foster growth by building scalable and sustainable technology skilling platforms. Wonderful to have you, sir. Our first speaker for this session is Mr. Chetan Kapoor, COO at Tech Mahindra Foundation. Mr. Kapoor is an accomplished development professional with a deep understanding and experience in the education and skill development sectors. He joined the foundation in 2016 and has conceptualized the foundation's flagship skill development program, SMART, which is now among one of the largest CSR-led urban skill development programs in India. Great to have you, sir. Up next, we have Ms. Joyeeta Das, Head Education and Skilling Initiative, Skills Build, India South Asia, IBM CSR. Ms. Joyeeta is a corporate citizenship professional with a unique experience of over 20 years of working with government and non-governmental organizations, multilateral funding agencies, and corporates. Her focus has been primarily on improving the quality of education in both K-12 and higher education by leading large-scale public and private partnerships. Lovely to have you, Ms. Joyeeta. Up next, we have Ms. Anjali Ravi Kumar, Brand Purpose Consultant for Unilever. Ms. Ravi Kumar works with consumer brands to help them identify social causes aligned with their purpose or long-term business strategy. As a brand purpose consultant with Unilever, she's worked with Fair and Lovely, now known as Glow and Lovely, Clinic Plus, and Ayush. She set up Glow and Lovely Careers, a platform that has helped 1 million women in Asia discover online career guidance and courses. Lovely to have you, Ms. Ravi Kumar. Up next, we have Ms. Manisha Patel, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Community Engagement Leader at Amazon. She has contributed 13 plus years to development of CSR and sustainability initiatives in large multinational corporations. She's an alumni of TIS Mumbai and has worked with Unilever and Commonwealth Human Rights Initiatives before joining Amazon. Lovely to have you, Ms. Patel. And finally, for our final speaker for this session, we have Ms. Manisha Singh, GM and Head CSR South Asia at Schneider Electric. Ms. Singh has 14 years of diverse professional experience in CSR, social enterprise, strategy consulting in the development sector. At Schneider Electric, she had CSR for South Asia, wherein the focus is on improving the lives of people through energy access and skilling in the space of energy. Lovely to have you join us, Ms. Singh. I would like to once again remind all our panelists that this session runs till 1:35 p.m. Please reserve some time in the end for Q&A and attendees to please put their questions in the Q&A box. I would once again also like to remind our attendees that we have a parallel session running on track B, which is a masterclass on building effective communication strategy to foster partnerships and amplify impact conducted by CMDC MICA. Please navigate to track B from the Hubilo dashboard to access the same. Over to you, Mr. Venkatesh, to moderate this session.
Thanks, Yamini, and good afternoon to all the attendees as well as participants who are joined us. I still remember last year we did this in Mumbai, and it was a very lively audience. And I believe we have 315 participants joined us from various parts of India, professionals from NGOs, professionals from the social development sectors, policymakers, as well as a lot of consultants and freelancers who joined us. We welcome you all. And it's a lovely panel. Today I have the joy of having a representation from various sectors, various organizations, And I believe it's going to be a great panel and an interactive one for each one of us to learn and take back home some learnings from here. So, focusing more on the topic in terms of the role of digital in making youth job ready. This is a very interesting area, and also in the current context of the pandemic, digital makeup becomes extremely relevant and significant in the way we are skilling, in the way we are planning. At NSDC, of course, we are in the domain of skilling and driving the skill ecosystem. We also run the India's largest skill program called PMKVY, which 2.0 is right now happening, and we are gearing up for the 3.0 as we talk about. The one of the key things we have seen, especially in the pandemic, is a physical lockdowns, which was quite challenging, and we have adopted various techniques and methodologies to go online, because the challenge at NSDC is that of our scale. We out of 855 districts, we have presence in more than 820 districts through the PMKVY and the PMKK centers. That means almost we are covering the length and breadth of India. So suddenly, when a pandemic like this hits, it also depends on the connectivity, the bandwidth, the infrastructure, and also the tools which are available to reach out to them. So fortunately, we were able to do that with the help of our existing ecosystem, as well as a lot of knowledge partners, training partners, as well as industry veterans who have come to support us, to partner with us. In fact, during the lockdown, we have led close to 24 very strategic partnerships which led us towards the movement to the digital. I want to call out some of them as I speak. But one of the things what we have seen as a success is our experimentation with eSkill India portal. So eSkill India is something which we started pre-COVID, but the number of users who get online to learn pure digital was a lesser number. But as the COVID and the pandemic kick-started and the lockdown started happening from March, we have seen a great increase in percentage of people enrolling. In fact, we have seen from March 2020 to 2020 November, we have seen 2,540% increase. That's like a crazy thing which we never anticipated. In terms of the users, people getting onto the portal, people accessing the portal, and the number of enrollments have also increased in the same manner. So what we really did is something, of course, we can discuss later. But the emphasizing the importance of the digital aspects, I would say the role of digital in making youth job ready depends on multiple aspects. One, in terms of providing the right relevant content. Second, in terms of scaling the platform using the relevant technologies, the LMSs and others to really look into how the content is getting delivered, how the measurement is happening, monitoring is happening in terms of number of users using it. Because if you look into edX, Coursera, Udacities, and others of the world, the percentage of completion is a challenge. Maybe the percentage could be as low as even 24 to 25%, or maybe less than 30% if you look into the global standards. So what is not making individuals complete the course is something very important for a lot of people to discuss and understand. When I interacted with the officials from Udacity, edX, and Khan Academies of the world, one of the things I discovered is the content and how the presentation of the content makes a lot of sense. So gamification of the content is extremely necessary so that you navigate the individuals, the millennials, and the Gen Z population, which are very different from the old age population, because they love the gamification of the content. So content, curation of the content, ensuring that the content flow happens in a very sustained manner, which raises the interest of the people by using latest technologies like gamification, interactive tools, and techniques make a lot of difference. And also the fourth thing is how do you, if you are doing everything digital, how do you include modules like online counseling, online skilling, especially including some interesting things like a codeathon or a hackathon in a technology world, to an online surveys and online chatbots to make it more interactive, so that you're not a mono log kind of a delivery model, but also it's more of a conversation driven models which encourages the youth. And also a lot of online soft skills and soft skills training, which is very, very necessary to make people employable, because across any sectors, at NSDC, we look at close to 37 sector skill councils. And at each sector skill council, when we talk about driving employability using digital formats, we always feel the importance of including the right relevant online modules to train them on soft skills, which is becoming extremely important in a world like this. And the last but not the least is usage of these online platforms. How well are you using these platforms? Because if you are using, let's say, an online platform to receive lessons or an online platform to interact with your tutors, usage of these tools and techniques is extremely important, not only at the end user level, even at the trainers level or a faculty level. In fact, we are doing very interesting experimentation with Baiju, Ravindran and team in terms of training teachers online, because some of the teachers don't know how to use online tools because the COVID has put them into a sudden requirement to shift the gear. And this is happening not even in schools, even in colleges or even in our training centers. It's very important. And we do conduct a lot of online trainings to ensure that the trainers are taught initially how to use an online tool or a platform, how to capture feedback and stuff like that. So that becomes much more interesting and exciting. So, all these put together, of course, would lead to a very comprehensive view of increasing role of digital in the aspect of skilling the youth and making them job ready. So, with this context being said, I would love to, take you through the, various panelists who are there representing various organizations and interesting stuff they are doing. Would love to start with Joyeeta Das and, from IBM. She leads the education and skilling ecosystem and initiatives like the Skills Build for India and Southeast Asia. So, Joyeeta, to you to give your perspective of what you're doing at IBM. Give me some context in terms of some of the interesting engagements you've been handling or you handled during the COVID times and some experiences.
Thanks. I think that was a wonderful sort of context setting, Venkat, and hello everyone. Hello, dear panelists and all the audience. Um, I, two, three things that really worked. I mean, obviously, it's a no-brainer that we need to do. We need to go digital. Now, how do we up that whole thing of content, which India has been grappling with for, I think, a lot of time. We are talking about industry relevant content, right? So that came up right on our face. Everybody's realities came up, right? As we are talking about all the roles of different industry partners, government, every single stakeholder, academic institutions, and so on and so forth. So to me, one was content. How are you making it simple? How are you making it easily understood by the audience who probably are coming into this whole space or game of digital education for the first time? So we are dealing with different levels of maturity of all the learners who are either in the space of getting themselves more educated, or if they are going towards more towards the access for employment. So that was the need, whether you're getting skilling, upskilling, reskilling that you're talking about. I would like to sort of say one or two large initiatives of the government in this space to just give that, make this a point clear. It's just been about a year and a half that the Central Board for Secondary Education introduced artificial intelligence in a high school, rather in a school environment. That emerging technology was very new, that the whole world was really, making a whole lot of noise about artificial intelligence in the space of education, agriculture, health, retail, fashion. But for school students, that was really new. Now, of course, the curriculum framework was designed, and hackathons, codathons, different workshops, trainings, all of that, the usual planning that happens for any new program happened. Then came March, right? And some of these schools were really in remote schools. A lot of these 7 states, the 7 government schools of the CBSE system. Now, to get them onboarded was really, really interesting. But I am really happy to say that nothing stopped. We may have taken a little longer, but we did that together along with the government partners, academic institutions, our NGO partners. I think everybody went above and beyond. So that was, that was the kind of passion we saw, the energy that everybody wants to do that advancement. I think every single learner, teacher, students, trainers, principals, the education systems, the policymakers around this, at least embracing this, need to be applauded. The second thing that came up really was, especially for organizations like ours is where we focus, live and breathe technology, is something that we really need to infuse in the education system and skilling. What is it that we need to do, maybe along with the government? And that's where we introduce something called the digital job fair along with our program. So, and on one hand was access to more education and learning and training, professional development. On the other hand was access to employment. Clubbing it, and I heard Venkat saying that with our pre-counseling, with our post-counseling, the job fairs, and we realized that whole lot of first generation learners actually needs this, and this what we were doing was just a drop in the ocean. However, when we aligned ourselves with the Ministry of Skill, with NSDC, whether there was linkage to the platform, whether there was linkage to any other program, we realized that a whole world opened up. Today, if a first generation learner wants to aspire or is aspiring to be a cybersecurity expert, to be an AI expert, that is something that all of us can really bring with this power of network that we have created. And our work is not done, we've just about begun, right? So these are the two things. Again, there are several examples, but I think we will come back in the interest of time. We'll come back in the second round if there are questions, and I'll pause here and let's hear from the other panelists. Thanks. Over to you, Venkat.
Thanks, Joyeeta. I think you covered extremely well in terms of the possible partnerships and how you're scaling from content, digital education, the relevance of it. In fact, I would also like to call out, especially the contribution of the startups in the COVID times. In fact, India, you'd be surprised to know there are 4,500 tech startups. As per NASCOM, those are small, big, and some are in the ideation phases, some of them are in the advanced phases, and some of them are unicorns. So each one of them have contributed in their own ways and means in a country like India, especially during the COVID times. In fact, I want to call out some of them who actively partnered with NSDC, like an Upgrad, who helped us with online virtual classroom tools to help us scale across our 20,000 plus training centers. Simply Learn, who came in to support us as a knowledge partner by giving a lot of content free of cost to various educational students in the STEM higher education space. Tons of content was available and that too customized to the Indian requirements. Or even in job portal like an Apna. I don't know how many of you know about Apna. They're doing fantastic job in terms of offering and aggregating skilling ecosystem in the blue collar workforce. Started by a few IITians, or a Baiju, which really is working with us in terms of scaling online methodologies to be implemented, and also training the teachers, especially in government schools. Or the Scalar Academy. Scalar is doing fabulous job in terms of driving STEM education and a lot of coding related stuff in the higher education space. So to name few, there are many. The Teachment, 7 classes, and because of the world, who are doing very interesting stuff, especially during the pandemic. So moving on from Joyeeta to Chetan. Chetan brings in a different perspective. He leads the Tech Mahindra Foundation and is a veteran in the space of social work development, as well as leading the skilling ecosystem in the past. So Chetan, to you to share some of your experiences and some work that's been done at Tech Mahindra.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Venkat. Pleasure once again to be here at this forum, and greetings to all the participants. I think, Venkat, you set the context beautifully, and I think Joyeeta has also covered a lot of very relevant points. I would like to very quickly take the participants through what we at Tech Mahindra Foundation have been doing in the context of skill development. Skill development is and continues to be an important focus area for us, and almost about 75% of our budgetary spend is on skill development. Back in 2012, we had started this program called SMART, SMART being an acronym for Skills for Market Training. And as the name suggests, we have closely aligned the program to the needs of the market. We started slow. In the year 2012, we had just 3 centers, but then ramped it up to about 100 centers in 2017. And we kind of continued with the number of centers since then, which continue to be at about 100. But the other model that we introduced in 2016 is what we call the smart academies, where we realized that there is a need to do a deeper, more intensive level of skill development. And we've chosen a few sectors to specialize through our academies, which are healthcare, digital technologies, and the third one, which is coming up now, is logistics. So currently we run 91 centers and 7 academies in all. Important to mention that by design, Tech Mahindra Foundation is an urban organization. So we've chosen to work in the major cities of India. And the centers are implemented through a network of NGO partners, whereas the academies, we do the implementation directly through our own teams. Another important part of our work is the focus that we have on persons with disabilities, which, I feel all of us in CSR need to kind of step up our work as far as persons with disabilities are concerned. So one of the variants of the SMART model is what we call the SMART Plus centers, wherein we focus on persons with youth with disabilities. And currently about 15 such centers are running, as part of SMART. So that's essentially, what we've been doing through this. One of the things which we've always given a lot of cognizance to is the fact that technology needs to be integrated, but integrated in the right manner. So right from the beginning, we have an MIS, which helps us take data-driven decisions, and that has really helped us improve the average salary levels that our students have been earning. So from 2017 till 2020, we've had almost a 25% increase in the entry-level salaries which have been earned by the students. The research has, taught all of us a lot of lessons, and technology has played an integral role. So as soon as the pandemic hit, we constituted a core team to look at how do we respond to what is required. And prior to this, we did not have an LMS. We did not have a learning management system as part of SMART, because the entire skilling was happening face to face. But we realized the need to have an LMS quickly. And we went through a very structured process of integrating a learning management system into our program, for which we identified a few service providers, did a pilot with some of them, took active feedback both from the students and the facilitators, and then finally decided on one of them, which we are currently running in all of our centers. Important to mention, like you already said, that content, the adaptation of content was an important part. So that's something that we gave a lot of importance to while evaluating the platforms. And the other piece which we immediately started working on was capacity development of our facilitators to pivot to online learning, because that's something which most of them were not used to. So we have a network of close to about 600 facilitators between our centers and academies. And through the months of May, June, and July, we managed to train all of these 600 fairly in depth in terms of how do you impart the training online. I think the one clear message which the learning that has come out very clearly is that what are the things that you can successfully do through an online platform, and what are the things that you can't. So we also know that there are a lot of hands-on skills, and also basic life skills like communication, which need the human interface. And therefore, the moment the unlock process started, we have gradually in small numbers, and especially where you need the hands-on training. So our technical centers, for example, even before the unlock process started, we had started getting the facilitators to the center to do a video demonstration of practical training. But now we have students coming in small numbers into our centers doing the hands-on training. So that in a nutshell is how the entire journey, including the last 8-9 months, have been. And I would be sharing more in the subsequent section of this discussion. So thanks, Venkat.
Thanks, Chetan, for giving us an overview of your smart centers, smart plus centers for differently abled people. And also on LMS, I would love to touch upon LMS again in the second round of questions to you, because that's an very interesting piece which is very, very relevant and also sometimes complex when you're running a large scaling ecosystem. So moving on further, I would now like to welcome Manisha Patel. She leads the diversity, inclusion, and community building initiatives at Amazon. And in fact, she was also a speaker last season. And Manisha, welcome, and would love to know more about the various initiatives at Amazon you're doing around your area of focus, and also especially being in the COVID times. In fact, I'm also happy to mention that NSDC partnered with Amazon, and Manisha was leading the partnership when lockdown kicked off. We had a huge challenge of conveying the social distancing myths about Corona. It was like the initial stage when there was a lot of tension around people not having awareness across in a country like India, which is very wide, diverse, and with multiple languages. So we really wanted a partner to step up who can help us in creating content for creating awareness of Corona, COVID, what does it mean to social distancing, myths, demystifying the myths, and a lot of things around COVID timeframe. So quickly, in fact, she volunteered in driving that entire campaign along with NSDC, and we had a huge impact in reaching out to 20,000 plus training centers spread across 800 plus districts. And thanks, Manisha, for that help. And that campaign was very successful, and we did that in multiple languages, so it was very impactful. Also, Manisha, not taking any more time, I would love to have you and also discuss some initiatives what you've been doing in diversity, inclusion, and community building side.
Sure. Thanks, Venkatesh. I think the context and what Mr. Chetan has said really gives me a good platform to take it further. So this year has been quite a challenging, but I would say that I see that the challenge throw us a lot of innovations, and that has really worked for all of us. And I think Amazon also experienced that this year. So we work at the three level. One is on the education. As being a good neighbor, we work with our immediate communities, and we have children, and we have a schools around our communities. And we said that how do we engage with children, and how do we make and that's where we said that we have 70,000 plus employees across India, and internet has been a challenge in our communities, because the urban population has a connect and they have all the accessibility. But what about these communities? So what we did is that we got all our employees together, and we partner with Pratham, and we identified the stories and the curriculum which is relevant to the tech and STEM education, which can be narrated in the story form. And all our 70,000 employee participated to make the story or narrate those stories and record those stories, and avail those stories uh, in a very small snippet form. And those stories were circulated through our NGO partners and through the panchayat, which can be accessible to the children in a small Android phone where the internet is not required, and they just need to access the barcode, and through which they can read the stories, and they can have the whole bundle of education open for them. And any age appropriate child can have the access, and they can learn from there. While doing that, as a part of our STEM and education initiative, we also wanted to introduce the artificial intelligence, AI, as a part of our curriculum. It was a challenge at the beginning, but then soon we realized that there are potentials in this program as well. So how we introduce the whole AI platform in a very innovative way through the panchayat, and by using the temple, and by using the panchayat facilities where the recording sessions can be rolled in a certain hours in the school, and the children can listen to them, and then do the innovative project and come back. So we use the whole wisely wise platform for that, and it was a very innovative way for us to engage the children. That's with the children. Now when it comes to the skilling, we learned that the skilling program and the employability has been a major challenge with the people with disability. We as Amazon, we always wanted to work, and we've been working with the people with the hearing and speech impaired and other form of disabilities. But because of the pandemic, the interpreters availability, and the safe transportation, and making sure that these people connect back back to their learning was a challenge. So we partner with the Signable. Signable is a virtual interpretation service. What it does is that whichever part or whichever geography you are in, it helps you to do the video interpretation, and it becomes a mediator between the SHI candidate and to the company, and they still able to perform their job wherever they are. And it also provide a good kind of learning for the SHI, and because of that we able to hire 1800 plus people with disabilities in Diwali, and they able to bring livelihood back to their life. Because of the pandemic they were stuck and they were not able to move. So that has like was a very successful campaign, and it worked well, and we want to now make sure that this becomes a pan India scalable option. The last bit of it, what we did is about making sure that when we are working on the skilling program and the youth across our neighborhoods, they were able to map their skill and be able to hire them, whether it's about a couple of hours or whether it's about a full hour of a full day of a work program. So we did a kind of a app where they can map their skill and they can say that how many hours they are available, and the program called Alpha, which we announced, where they can register themselves and avail the job opportunity in their neighborhood. So that has connected back all the youth who have dropped out or who doesn't have the job and want to connect back and want to learn further and get upgraded and start their journey of livelihood again. And the last bit of our Saheli program, as many of have seen that the small entrepreneurs and the women SHGs or a very local vendors who used to earn a lot of money have, due to the pandemic, have lost the whole track and didn't know what to do. So we have really activated our Saheli program where we reach out to all the tier 4 tier 5 cities and the rural areas where the women are making a small kind of handicraft items, or whether it's about making papad or a masala, or whether making as a diya or candles. How do we train them and make them realize this is the right time for you to come on board and reach pan India customer and sell your products? So that has been another success story for us to connect the whole SHG and the micro entrepreneurship network through our Saheli program to not only India but our global selling platform as well. So that has been the journey for this year. But as this journey had just started, so it's still day one for us, and we are learning and getting more hands-on on other learnings and see how make this space better and more customer friendly.
Uh, Thanks, Manisha, for covering various aspects of what you're doing and also sharing the details of each one of them. We'll again come back to you to know a little bit more about STEM education. That's an interesting piece for many kids and in the K-12 and the higher education space. So moving on further, we have Anjali Ravi Kumar. She leads the brand purpose at Unilever and initiatives, around CSR, what Unilever does. We would be more than happy to know from you, Anjali, some of the initiatives, what you have done in the past, and also the organization's focus right now on the CSR as a piece, especially the areas where you handle.
Thanks, Venkat. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So just very quickly for the audience, let me sort of demystify what I do. I work with brand teams, so I'm different from other panelists in two respects. One is I basically run marketing initiatives which have social impact. They don't qualify as CSR because they're not in compliance with the CSR laws. But why do we do this at Unilever? Well, two reasons. We believe that brands, if they associate with social causes, they can grow as brands because people look for brands that have meaning, and an association with a social cause gives a brand meaning. The second reason as to why we do this at Unilever is because we genuinely believe we can have social impact through our brands. And what that means, because we believe brands have a relationship with consumers. You buy a Lifebuoy, you buy a Fair and Lovely, or now a Glow and Lovely, you buy a Clinic Plus. These are very brands you trust. So they serve the role of influencers. right? So this is why we do this. And the kind of initiative I've been associated with um, for the last 5 years at Unilever is an initiative that was launched, that I had to launch with the Fair and Lovely, called the Fair and Lovely Career Foundation, which again, in contrast to what most of the panel has been engaged with, is an entirely online initiative, right? So it's an entirely online initiative to help young girls discover the power of online courses, career guidance, and job opportunities. Now, why did we start this? Let me tell you the story of why. So when I came on board at Unilever, Glow and Lovely, I'm going to stop calling it Fair and Lovely because we have changed the brand. Glow and Lovely was running a scholarships program, which was very famous and was doing quite well for the brand, but it was only reaching about 200 girls every year. And for a brand that's used by 350 million women, we didn't want to be restrained to serving 200 women every year. So we said that there needs to be something that we can there needs to be a way for us to reach millions of women. And really, when we studied the landscape and we spoke to consumers, we realized that there is one of the most important things we realized is that women in India, and I'm going to again speak specifically about women, skilling women, because I do think it should be a focus of a panel like this. Women have a very small economic geography. They cannot physically move out of their homes as easily as men can, primarily because we are a very patriarchal culture that puts quite severe restrictions on women's mobility, right? And it doesn't help that there isn't safe transport, and it doesn't help that a culture of there is such a there is a culture of violence against women. But primarily, she does not have the same liberty to study outside. So online skilling was seen as the ultimate solution to this problem. Let her not have those battles with her family about going out and attending evening coaching and going to another town to do an MBA. Let her ultimately do everything from home. It's in our minds it was a neat and relevant solution that would find instant appeal with our audience. But here's what we've learned, and I'm sure the lessons of what we've learned in the last 3-4 years will resonate with many of you in the skilling space and will help those of you embarking on a journey in digital skilling. The first thing we learned is and there are 4 lessons. The first is to understand the problem in the context of the solution. In our case, the solution was online skilling, but let's reflect on who really benefits from online skilling. And then we had to really think about what is the state of mind of our audience today. And we realized that there are actually 3 segments in our audience, which I'm sure you will resonate with. The first segment of about 100 million girls in the 18 to 23-year-old age group. The first segment, you can call them happy settlers. They are happy with life being planned out for them. You can say that they are not restless to really change their education or improve upon their education, and for good reasons. It's nice to have the security of a set plan. The second segment can be described as confused strivers. This is actually the bulk of where a lot of Indian students sit today, where they really want to do something to improve their prospects of getting a job. They are dissatisfied with the education they've received. They really want to do something, but they're really confused about how. And the last segment, 10%, is about focused strivers. They have a clear plan in mind, and they know exactly what they need to study to achieve their goals in life. Okay. Now, given the fact that the bulk of our audience is in the confused strivers segment, it is a complete mismatch with what is required to do well in an online course. An online course actually requires, especially a self-paced free online course, requires a very high level of intent. Think of all the online courses that you and I have joined and not completed, right? It needs a very high level of commitment to the end goal. You need to know exactly what you're going to get out of it, exactly why you're doing it, and there needs to be some pressure, some urgency to complete. Otherwise, you will not complete. The internet is this wild and wonderful place with many, many distractions, and I'm just not going to complete an online course because it requires a very high level of dedication. So who is an online course best suited for? Ideally, it's best suited for upskilling, for people who know exactly what they need to study. So that's a big learning that we had, that low completion is not an indicator of the product being actually wrong. It's just we didn't have a complete understanding of our audience. We assumed that everyone had the same level of intent to be able to just survive the distractions of the internet, and that's not true at all. So we have tried to incorporate elements more suited to our audience that is probably more confused and therefore just browsing, right? What have we tried to do? First is we offer a lot of career guidance online, like offline career guidance examples given by other panelists. The second, so we have a tie-up with idreamcareer.com. The second is we try to provide a lot of live counseling sessions through our partnership with Shiros. We have like weekly live counseling offered through Shiros. And then we have Ask Me Anything sessions, again, on the Shiros platforms, because we are women specific. So that was the first. The second lesson was you have to design for girls. Girls have also what can be called lower digital mobility. Again, due to our patriarchal culture, we don't give girls the same level of handset access. They're not allowed to use the internet at all times of day. So even attending live events is harder for girls. They are also expected to do more housework, which means there will be a clash between their responsibilities and attending even online classes. And I think that's just something that one has to recognize and work around, right? So we do see spikes in the late evenings, etc. Now, and I would like to question that even though COVID has seen a huge enrollment in online courses, what is the gender split? That really needs to be explored. And then the third lesson is that for technical subjects, upskilling is possible, but basic skilling, maybe I would still say that physical skilling is a superior approach to take. But you can cater to a lot of first jobbers through online quite effectively. And people who, like I said, really know exactly what they need to study. And finally, I don't think we should undermine the power of the internet in the space of actually career guidance and soft skilling, because of two lessons that we've learned. The most number of users in our case, at least 70% of that 1 million number are enrolled in English and soft skills courses. And reflecting on this, we realized that why does this happen? One, because everybody knows that no matter what job, even no matter how confused they are about what career they want to pursue and what they have to study towards that career, they know they need English. So English is almost like an understood skill, right? So online, actually, it's easier to sell English as a course because it's so widely accepted that it's required. The second, and we also see high completions for English courses. The second is we have come to understand that even online career guidance has great uptake because to some degree, and iDream Career told us this, most people are comfortable asking questions anonymously and without actually being physically present. Nobody wants to look dumb when they're asking a question about a career, although a lot of us have dumb questions. So I think that online offers the privacy and the anonymity. In fact, iDream Career just told us that girls prefer chatting with career counselors on WhatsApp versus actually even face-to-face or on the telephone. So I think that there's great merit in leveraging the advantage of digital to deliver content that requires a certain amount of anonymity, or where you need to actually make the person feel comfortable. So those are the learnings from my side. Happy to share more.
Thanks, Anjali. You bring in a lot of dimensions of insights, marketing insights. In fact, my field was also marketing. I moved towards the skilling side of things, but I can relate how brands are leveraging these key insights and contributing not only just in their products and positionings, but also understanding the requirements of the audience and helping them. We did, in fact, and it's a very interesting campaign with Britannia Startup Challenge 2.0. And we have seen it was targeted towards homemakers, especially women, turning them into entrepreneurs. And we launched this in the month of March, and immediately within 2 weeks we had the lockdowns. But we have seen in June, July, when we concluded, we had 1.65 million women participate. We hit a huge record. And and there were not just prizes for each one of them, but there were also online sessions we conducted. And I also believe what you touched upon, the English, employability, and entrepreneurship. In fact, we run this as a course developed in partnership with Padwani Foundation. This course has seen extremely high intake across communities, especially in the female labor force, because these three aspects are extremely important, irrespective of which domain you are in. I understand, and I actually believe this has a lot of value as we go forward.
It has widespread acceptance. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thanks for your inputs. Moving on now to Manisha Singh. Manisha Singh is the General Manager, Head of CSR South Asia for Schneider Electric. Manisha, to you now to share your experience and also some of the initiatives you're taking up at Schneider.
Thank you, Venkatesh, and very good afternoon, everyone. It was very interesting to hear, different kind of challenges everyone faced in their respective domain. Over here at Schneider, energy management and automation, we have aligned our CSR with the business we do or the expertise we have. So the theme, the underlying theme of all of our initiatives is energy. We provide whether it's education or skilling and entrepreneurship, or supporting the agriculture. So in education, we provide energy and environment conservation education to school students, and we support farmers or agriculture by providing them access to solar energy, renewable and clean energy, and help them improve their income levels and agricultural productivity through solar water pumps and solar run agro-processing units. Coming to the topic of this discussion, skilling, that is our biggest focus area, not just in India but at global level. We have a global foundation which does skilling in energy domain in more than 60 countries. So I take care of India and South Asia. So yeah, in skilling, again, it's aligned to our domain. So we do skilling in electrical. So we have a very integrated model of having, at the highest level, having center of excellences for training the trainers in this domain, to having more than 300 training centers, of course, in partnership with multiple partners, to skill jobless youth, or say school, people at the school dropout level, to become electricians and solar professionals. We do around 20,000. We skill around 20,000, unskilled youth in this domain. Now coming to this year's so coming to the digital part, at organization level, we are already, in fact, we are one of the pioneers in bringing, digital and power of digital and technology in energy sector. We have a lot, energy management and increasing the productivity of your electrical equipments through digital. Also, we are working on digital adaptation in the learnings at higher education level. However, at the CSR level, when the segment we are dealing with is students who people who may not have even gone to school, or who are like school dropouts, 8th or 10th pass out. So greatest the challenge was really high, that how to move to digital learning, like mode of learning digitally. So that's the challenge that we faced. Moving to digital platform in other programs like the education one was not, much of a challenge. uh, and in fact the learning is like it's still going on. The challenge was at multiple levels, that first of all, the behavioral change, the kind of people who we are training, how do we get them to adapt to totally digital ways of learning. And then of course, as you mentioned, Venkatesh, the trainers, like trainers also need to adapt to new ways of training. And also, ours being a very technical trade, and our in fact our 60 almost 50 to 60% training is practical training in the labs, digital labs, sorry, the Schneider labs that we have. So the challenge is enormous, and we're still learning ways to resolve it. So at least the classroom part we were able to do, just like everybody else did here. We were able to convert the curriculum into digital form, and used various digital platforms to impart training. However, the challenge remains that how or to what extent can we, convert the practical training in digital form. It of course cannot be, 100%. So that's my experience has been in past few months. And yeah, over to you, Venkatesh.
Thanks, Manisha. And also want to mention that Manisha and team with NSDC, which primarily focuses on skilling the blue collar workforce in the power sector. And great work, Manisha, overall, also what you have explained. And thanks for your efforts. And now moving
Thank you.
on, thank you, welcome. We have, in interest of time, we are already at 1:32, and we have to finish off by 1:35. So we have very little time left. Quickly, I want to understand from each of you, maybe one pointer, maybe keeping in mind the time. Maybe identifying one areas, I would take each one of you for your expertise. A kind of a view on the specific points. Starting with you, Joyeeta. The government partnerships are extremely relevant, and partnering with state or the central or the government bodies for driving digital skilling, as you touched upon. Would you like to throw focus on maybe on it, maybe in a minute or so, the relevance and what you feel about it, the significance?
Yeah, I think the key here is aligning with industry relevant content, industry relevant internships, and getting more and more boot camps, workshops. So that whole industry level of exposure for the learners, which will help them drive towards access to employment and employment, is critical. So.
Excellent. Something like a Smart India hackathon. We have seen a lot of partnerships from the institutions, large organizations, startups, and all. And also, I would like to mention that IBM has partnered with NSDC, and we have Open Tech platform. They helped us in getting all the Industry 4.0 training courses completely free for the STEM education, higher education. Thanks, Joyeeta, for you and your team for putting in that effort. That particular thing is a really good initiative, and it's been useful to many higher education students. Moving on from there.
But we're also aligning with Skills Build, as you know, so that is a big focus for us as a learning platform. Thank
you. I really appreciate. Moving on to Chetan, you touched upon the importance and significance of LMS. Maybe if you can throw some idea on it in terms of some limitations and challenges, and also how do you overcome those?
Sure. Thanks, Venkat. Yes. So, in terms of choosing an LMS, I think it's very important that we have to follow a structured process of first shortlisting a few options. And then it's important, like what we did was to pilot a few options across different centers. So we took, 3 options and gave them to 10 centers each, and then had a range of parameters on which all of these had to be evaluated, because it's very important to get the feedback from the students directly, as well as the facilitators, because that's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So getting that feedback in, and then putting that together into the key requirements that we had, which is of course being able to provide the right kind of content, ensuring that there is an assessment piece built in, ensuring that we could track the progress of every student over time. So these were some of the key elements that we incorporated. And of course, the platform on which you could have the interactive sessions with the students was integral to this. We are currently, as I said, we are working with one of the LMS providers, and we've constituted a core group which is interacting directly with the facilitators who are implementing this, so as to get feedback. The contract that we have with the provider is till March, so we are going to review it once again, because it's something which we know is it's going to be in place even beyond COVID. So I think all of us are going to pivot towards a blended mode of learning, in the interest of efficiencies. So therefore, we have to make sure that we've got the right system in place. And I think going forward, we have to, look at digital as being integral to any skill development program. It can't be seen as something which is an additional feature, a program, as a blackboard is to a classroom, for example. So that's how we need to look at it going forward. And I'm sure now that we've started that process together, more and better ways of doing it are going to emerge.
Thank you, Chetan. I think LMS plays a significant role. We have seen that at NSTC how important it is to scale, and LMS becomes an integral portion of it. Moving on to Manisha, I would like to touch upon your views on STEM education, especially in K-12, because India is a diverse country, and also we have 1.75 million schools, and most of them are the government and the state government schools. With the infrastructure, bandwidth, and other challenges, how do you see the STEM in the school education that's going to scale? Some initiatives you are looking at?
Sure. So we've been proactively collaborating with the adult tinkering labs and trying to understand how this model can become a self-sustainable. Because when we started doing a partnership with ATL, we realized that the government has a very good model and a mindset, but it's not getting self-sustainable, and that's where I think the corporate can play an important role. And also to make this program more out of box, we are also exploring Alexa playing an important role there. So today we have a subject expert NGO, and we have a schools, and we have ATL, right, who gives a guidance, and also there's a process to onboard and get registered for ATL tinkering labs, right? But after the NGO gets out of it, there has to be sustainable of the sustainability of the program, where the capacity of the teachers and also the overall infrastructure impact and upgradation of the curriculum remains as it is. And that's where we thought that Alexa, which is voice enabled, and if the skills can be enabled in the Alexa, and Alexa helps, and this also makes, and we have seen a lot of success stories around Alexa, where the teacher from Jharkhand or a teacher from Ratnagiri who's been successfully running the school with Alexa, and making sure the whole teaching methodology becomes more interactive, fun, and technology making the whole curriculum closer to the children. So I think that's the way I'm looking at, and we already discussing with the NSDC as well as the Niti Aayog to see that how do we explore this discussion and make sure the access to the STEM education is across not only the urban areas but also the interior part of India.
Very true. I think conversational AI will play a major role, whether it's Alexa, Cortana, Siri, all of them will be embedded in education. There are a lot of startups actually experimenting this. Interesting one, Manisha. And moving on further to Anjali, you touched upon the online, getting, the girl children online, women online is not easy. It's a challenging thing. Maybe one or two ways you have learned or experimented, which you want to share with people.
The one experiment we're running now, which is quite successful, is actually they are already serving close to 18 million women online, very often tier 2, tier 3 towns. So the challenge with girls is that after they're out of school, where do you engage with them? You have to either go to college. I mean, only 25% of all girls in 18 to 23 age group are in college. The rest, you'll have to assume they're either studying at home or doing correspondence courses, or just they're already married, right? A substantial portion of that age group is already married. So where do you reach them if you're not running a school program? So we have found that definitely there are growing number of online platforms that have women, although I would say the safe ones are like a Shiro's, because it's exclusive to women. On a Facebook, only 25% of Facebook's users are in India are women. Only 25% of Instagram users are women. So there is a very, they're a lot, but they don't represent the bulk of the audience, and it's not always considered safe to reach women. Although I mean, there are, you can at least from an advertising perspective, you can target women on Facebook very easily. Now, and what do we do with Shiro's? We have decided to move large parts of our program to Shiro's directly. So we run a lot of career guidance modules just through Shiro's. And yeah, that's the main way in which I would suggest reaching out to women.
Absolutely. I agree with you. In fact, Sairi and team are doing great stuff at Shiro. She's a dear friend of mine. And the platform is very, very unique, and it will help you reach out to a cluster of women, and so that your communication, you're communicating to them, understanding their insights become much, much easier than the social media platform, which is a mixed audience.
Another platform that has to be explored, but is less, we have not done it, is actually YouTube. I do believe a lot of women are there already, and a lot of women are already learning on YouTube. It's very popular, but are we leveraging it enough for our goals?
I think you should talk to us, because we are talking to YouTube and creating a very interesting platform for skilling. Probably we will touch base after this and see what could be the synergies we synergize with you at a Unilever. And also platforms like even Girls Who Code, Anita Borg Institute, maybe Manisha can relate to them. The STEM platforms, especially you're looking at, are very, very powerful, which are women-centric. Moving on to Manisha from Schneider, digital skills and also to the level to which it can scale, the power of it. Maybe Manisha, if you can touch upon that, that would be interesting for our audience. So Manisha, I think you need to unmute yourself. Yeah, you're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Venkatesh. I would say that digital transformation does bring in scalability, and one needs to scale up changes, as I mentioned earlier, that different trades would have limitations, different levels of limitations to scalability, and I would say that multiple you need to work at different parts of the whole skilling value chain. So one is, of course, at the individual organizational level, you have to invest in say, to empower our audience to be able to use digital platforms, whether it's giving them the right kind of education, or providing them, say, data packs, or the platforms, basically access to a digital platform. At the same time, at ecosystem level also, one needs to work. As I could hear that NSDC is doing a lot of work in digital transformation. Chetan mentioned, and we work with more than 40 partners, and they're also doing something or the other at their level. So the need is that we don't reinvent the wheel, and there is a need to collaborate and work together. May work with edutech companies, and so that we are able to digitize at a faster pace. So that's something I would like to put across here.
Thanks, Manisha, for your inputs. Quickly, I think we are already overshooting time, but there are 285 participants. And if I were a participant, if I'm an audience, imagine if I belong to an NGO or a partner or a training partner institution or a freelancer, more than the normal insights, I would be keen to know one thing. And this is like a rapid fire for each of you. And last time we experimented this, and this was the most interesting part, which I keep it to the end. I know we are running out of time. I'll give you a minute. If you can let me know, each of you, in the next 2 quarters, what is the task you are doing or you're, planning to do, and where all are the areas you need support. For example, you say, listen, I'm doing a fantastic STEM outreach for K-12. I would require partners in that space. Or am I doing something in, foundation, which is in Glow and Lovely, wherein I specifically need content builders there. If you can tell me one initiative, next 2 quarters, and areas where you think you need help, so that audience post this session can reach out to you through various social media or maybe through our moderators and all. And that's beneficial for a lot of them. I hope this would be exciting. We'll start with you, Joyeeta. 1 minute, next 2 quarters, one initiative you're going to do, and where you need support.
So we will continue to scale Skills Build as a platform where we need more content, builders, like you said, or content partners. We would need more industry partners, because Skills Build as a platform has amazing capabilities of coaching and mentoring. And we've done about innovation camps, design thinking camps, data science camps, and we need more and more industry partners and coaches. So, instead of going all over, if just a few of the partners here as industry partners can align on STEM and future of work, I think we will really
it is focused both on K-12 and higher education.
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Skilling. So we have the entire hockey stick, journey, the learner's journey, right from grade 8 or 6 actually now, up until the access to employment. So we have that entire journey of a learner.
So that's an opportunity for all. In fact, I'm getting participation list now going up. People are coming on to note these points. So that's an opportunity for, if you're a content builder, if you're an institution, if you can give them a scale to drive their platform and outreach, that's an opportunity for you guys. Now we'll move to Chetan. 1 minute, one initiative you want to do in the next 2 months where you need support.
I'll give you two, Venkat.
Okay.
One is one thing which we are definitely doing is to do more of upskilling, because we see the need for upskilling emerging in the space quite a bit, both reskilling and upskilling actually, because there is, I can give you a very quick example. We've done a course called Hospital Hygiene Assistant as part of our healthcare training program, and we realized that housekeepers in the healthcare space need additional skilling, upskilling, to meet with the current needs, where you have hygiene and sanitation so much pronounced. Second is in terms of use of better assistive technology when it comes to working with persons with disabilities, because that's also an area where we've done quite a few experiments, but I think now is the time to really zero in on specific technologies for speech and hearing impaired, for visual impairment, that can be applied at scale, and first produced and then applied at scale. So these are two very high priority areas as far as we are concerned.